Over the past few weeks, I have gone through a great deal of information in order to prove a very important point that we all must grasp. That point is that, as a majority, our thoughts are not our own. The thoughts of the population today have been carefully manipulated and conditioned so that the world is prepared for the beast of Revelation. If you have not awakened to the agendas, you need to know that your thoughts are not your own. Many people are under the strong delusion that will lead them to an outcome that they truly do not desire. Over the past few weeks, I have tried to show this and show just how many of these thoughts that much of the world holds today, where they come from. It was not just a natural evolution of thoughts, but they are thoughts that have been used to carefully guide and condition the population to accept a new world order. Your thoughts are not your own. And the minute you begin to understand how true that statement is the minute where you can begin to come out of it and not make it true. I use the movie series The Matrix as a very useful metaphor of our reality for multiple reasons. I think that was the purpose of the movie itself, giving people the chance to wake up so that the agenda against humanity is at least fair. The Matrix is a metaphor of the strong delusion the world is under, and in order to come out of it, it requires humility in order to understand that many of our thoughts are not our own. For the most part, this world has been conditioned to accept immorality, conditioned to accept civil rights agendas that are about the acceptance of a dark world that is completely against the Most High, conditioned to accept a change in roles of man and woman away from how our Creator designed it, conditioned to change even what defines a gender. The world is conditioned. But why? The Matrix trilogy gives you that answer as well, but it probably went over everyone's heads. The answer of why comes from understanding the goal of the antagonist character, which is Agent Smith. He wanted to copy himself into every person living in the Matrix. He was a virus that wanted to attach himself to everything. And at the end of the movie, right before he had his last fight with Neo, we see he achieved his goal and was copied and spread throughout the whole Matrix. The whole Matrix was full of him. He copied himself into every person in the Matrix, and that is the exact answer to the question of why the world has been conditioned. It's because Satan wants to be like the Most High, and wants the whole world to be literal copies of himself. He wants his ways and his mindsets to be implanted onto every human alive. And when this happens, he will feel as if he is the most powerful, that he is the Most High. That's his goal. And even though he knows he won't win, he still is pushing forward with it. And unfortunately, all of us have been affected by it. That is, if you have not recognized the truth, repented, and then woken up. The truth is that your thoughts are not your own, and they all need to be scrutinized and brought back into the obedience of Messiah. That literally is the only answer. And I recognize that for many, that is not the answer they want to accept or hear. They want to believe that they could be woke while not believing in Messiah. And the unfortunate truth is that you still will be caught in the strong delusion without Messiah. If you do not love the truth, you will be condemned. And I know that is a strong statement to hear, but it is extremely important to understand. So over the past month, I first went over the strong delusion just so you could recognize the true issue. And then I took time going over the mind control that started from the 60s that most of our parents and grandparents were controlled by. Or maybe you yourself were controlled by it because maybe you're a baby boomer. I went over much of the programming that was the ground foundation to the mental conditioning that we are in today. I've been trying to explain the beginning of all these thoughts in hopes that people can recognize truly what has been going on and you can come out of the strong delusion. Now, before I continue on with breaking down the history of our mind control, I think it is important that we go over what it is that we are to do with this information. You see, waking up minds can be very dangerous if it is not done with care. And before we go any further, I want to help make sense of this whole thing. The whole purpose over the last few weeks was to highlight and bring attention to the problem. But knowing the problem is only the beginning to the battle. And so if you do not want to be in the strong delusion, I would like to help you with understanding the only solution and answer you have to this problem. So we're going to discuss what to do once you recognize that your thoughts have not been your own. Let's begin. Okay, so I can imagine that it's hard to really come to terms with that statement of your thoughts not really being your own. Like, what does that really mean, you know? You thought these things. They were your thoughts. How can someone tell you that your thoughts really aren't your own? Well, that's a fair question because you are right. The thoughts you have had all your life are your thoughts. The reason they're not your own, though, is because you did not come to believe many of the things you did before you were conditioned to think the way you do. For example, let's go back before the Civil Rights Act, where racism and oppression was still a normal way of life. Thinking about a child or a baby that was born at that time, do you honestly believe that they were born to hate Negroes and think all the hateful thoughts that they had? No, those thoughts were not theirs. They were conditioned to think the way they did. In fact, it was more spiritual than anything. Spiritual entities attaching themselves to a population in order to steer the world. The truth is, it is all spiritual, but I don't want to lose you if you're not able to understand that spiritual aspect right now. My point is that those thoughts were taught and programmed into that population to accept as common thought. Their racism and hatred was taught to them. Those thoughts were not their own. They were programmed to hate. And now there's a different program, which is tolerance. It's not based on love, but tolerance. That's the new program. There has been a new religious doctrine accepted in this world, and it is to be tolerant of all. And so there is a thought that all of our leaders say today that is made to be looked at as love, but it's based on satanic, rebellious doctrine against the Most High.
We are the dream keepers, which is why we come today black and white and all races and religions and sexual orientations to say this dream is still alive. You might have killed the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream.
The truth is that the civil rights agenda is about acceptance of all. And I know it sounds like common sense because no one should ever be discriminated against because of the color of their skin or their race or national origin. And we now can all equally agree to this because of the trauma. But then they add acceptance of religion and sexual orientation. And then all of a sudden, we are now in a situation where if our faith is completely against something, we now are enemies against humanity and the law of the land. Subtle doctrine that has been communicated over time that most do not recognize has been accepted. Basically, do what you want. These thoughts that people have today are not their own. They have been programmed, and the people have been conditioned to accept them. And these are just small examples, but its influence can be seen everywhere. So the thing is that if we're to come out of this strong delusion, we must get a hold on our thoughts. And so this must be something that you're proactively engaging in. I want to help you with this. I have a word that I often use in my family. When I talk to my wife about things, I often use this word because it's what I try to focus on having right as much as I can. That word is mindset. Mindset is the established set of attitudes held by someone, a mental attitude, a fixed state of mind. It's how I'm always thinking and viewing things. Now, for many, it should be understood that we are in a spiritual war. What we are facing in this world is a spiritual battle, and in the spiritual side of this battle is where we are wrestling against spirits, demons, and principalities. The spiritual battle should never be ignored. But the next battleground of this fight is not where most people expect. You see, people want to engage in the physical, but they leave their mental fully unprotected. And the truth is that the mind, this is where you're consistently being attacked from the minute you wake up and grab your cell phone. You go on your computer, turn on your television, go to work or school. Whatever you do, when you engage with this world, you are being mentally attacked. So this is a very important arena that needs attention. I mean, I know a lot of people that just focus on the physical. They hear that trouble is approaching and they hit the gym. They lift weights, run hard to build up stamina. They get guns, but they do whatever they need to do to be prepared for the physical. But then they go sit right under the mind control techniques of their enemy that neutralizes them without them knowing. They protect the physical while ignoring the mental. There's nothing wrong with getting physically in shape, so please don't misunderstand me. But that should not be the priority over your mind. It should not be spiritual first, physical second, mental last. After spiritual, always should come mental, because this is the unspoken battleground of your enemy. You'll find many scriptures teaching about being sober, and that's not in the sense of being drunk off an alcoholic drink, but in the sense of being of a sound mind. We are to live with a sound mind, keeping our minds fixed on our Father and His business, and not this world and their agendas, and what they are searching and seeking after. We all must be on guard for our minds and protect them. Scriptures say, "For those who live according to the flesh, set their minds on the things of the flesh. But those who live according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." That's Romans chapter 8, verses 5 and 6. Also, set your mind on things above, not on things on the earth. Colossians chapter 3, verse 2. Now, the best and most efficient thing to do to protect your mind is to set your full mind on things of the above. I read comments on this channel of those that don't have a television, no social media accounts. They don't know what's going on out in the world because they are not engaged in the world. They completely set their mind on the things above. And for those that are able to do this 100% like this is commendable because they have protected their minds from the enemy a great deal. But for many people today, it is often not possible because the enemy has created a world in which we have to engage to survive. Most of us live in highly populated areas that do not allow us to live off the land. So we have to work. And because we have to work, we are forced to engage with society. And from this point, the enemy is attacking us. But does this mean that we are hopelessly victim to the devices of our enemy? Absolutely not. What it means is that we must have the right mindsets at all times. And it's because many of us don't fully live in these mindsets. That's what makes us weak. Understand this. Everyone alive today is living in the biggest collective mind game in the history of the world. I'll explain this in great detail in these most recent videos. From our government-led education system, to our fake political system and spread of democracy around the world, to our news and social media outlets spreading propaganda and lies, to our major corporations working collectively and promoting agendas and supporting lies. If you are asleep to the magnitude of this system, their agenda, and how it all works collectively against you, you are just like a pawn in their game of chess being pushed down into the battlefield. So you must walk in the right mindset. This mindset. The enemy, Satan, and his minions are against me. Satan runs this world system. Everything that is happening is about bringing his control and worship. All communication that is co-signed from the world system, whether it sounds positive or negative, are all weapons that are used to manipulate my mind, keep me distracted, and not ready for the Most High. I will not give Satan and his minions dominion over my mind. This is what I tell myself continuously as I go throughout my life, because the world is always trying to direct me as if this is not true. Too many people that I know want to play devil's advocate and act like things are not as connected as it seems. People want me to believe that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. The majority wants me to believe that the only evil in the world is found amongst murderers and rapists, but everything else gets a pass. They want me to believe that world government leaders, business leaders, religious leaders, social leaders, etc., are not all working together towards one goal of a new world order. And the truth is that it leaves everyone that follows those thoughts, amongst others, it makes them weak and not ready to take on the world that is really in front of them. If you're going to be effective in these last days, you must do these things. 1. Know the truth. Now, this is important, and it is not an easy task because it takes a lot of reading and researching, and you do not have the time to research all the enemy's lies because it seems like it's unlimited. Research the truth, and if you focus on the truth and live through it, it will keep your mind protected from the lies. You will find the truth in the Bible, so this should be the ultimate priority for us all. Read this book like your life depends on it, because it does. Live through its truth. Number 2, know the end and where things are going, and you won't get distracted or get taken advantage by the different roads that we are taking to get there. I have seen and noticed that most people that live in fear and are controlled by the world's agendas are the ones that do not recognize the direction that this world is heading. They don't know what has been prophesied to happen, and therefore they are steered and directed by the world. If you understand where we are going, you will not fall victim to the tools and lies that they are using to get us there. Number 3, don't believe the system. There is a simple rule I live by when engaging in this world. When everyone agrees on one thing, it's a lie. When I see government leaders all around the world agree, when I see the news media agree, when I see businesses and corporations all agree, celebrities and influencers agree and co-sign, when I see the whole system is seemingly on the same page, then I know without a shadow of a doubt that it's a lie. Now, that does not mean that there aren't certain risks or dangers and that there's nothing out there That's not what I'm saying. But I know that it is not what they're telling us it is. And the suggestions and guidelines to protect us are for another agenda more than it is about helping us. Number 4, stop listening to the media or news on social media or wherever you get informed until you have a handle on your mind. Until you are convicted in the truth, stop watching and listening to mind-controlling devices only used to put you in submission. The news is not about keeping you informed. It's about keeping you sedated. Number 5, know how to recognize mind-controlled thought. Most conversation is just a regurgitation of mind-controlled points people have heard continuously from various sources. Critical thinking is not a skill the majority uses today. If you are hearing the same thing a lot of time with the same words, expressions, or specifics, and is coming from multiple different people, then this is more times than not evidence of mind control. Do not pay attention to it. If you hear people making certain points, but then when you ask them questions or give a little pushback and they get defensive or don't have much to say after, they are under mind control. Do not pay attention to it. Number 6, know what controlled opposition is. This is a technique that is used greatly today. Just because you see different groups and they are all for one thing and highly against another, it does not mean that you must choose a side. In regard to these world affairs, do not be provoked to stand on one side or another. Stand on the side of our Father. Know what controlled opposition is, and then understand that most conflict you see today is a form of controlled opposition. There's no reason to attach your heart to it because it is a lie. Number 7, understand that everything that is happening right now is about pushing the transition. Nothing that we see happening today is random. This plan has been in the making for centuries, not just a few months or years. They know the world that they're trying to build, and everything we are seeing today is about pushing that agenda. Like, let's go back to the agenda a couple years back. Wearing masks was not about protection. It was about submission and mental conditioning. Social distancing was not about protection. It was about control. Riots and protests not about ending racism, but ending free speech. Nothing that is happening is about what they make it out to be. And if you listen and believe their lies, you are and you will be taken advantage of. Number 8, when you listen to the news and world events, do not listen to it from a mindset of gaining facts of what is going on, but from a mindset of understanding the narrative. When I watch the news or listen to what's going on, I never look at things as facts. I don't believe the news that they are giving. I believe for the most part there's normally an underground story, a story that they're not telling us. When I listen to the news, I am listening to understand the narrative. You should understand that everything is about narrative. The story that they will use in the history books in the years to come. The storyline that supports all the divisions that they will make in the future. So I follow the narrative and see where they are taking it. Do the same. It's not facts, it's the narrative. Number 9, know that there are much worse things coming. I said this earlier, people are right now just waiting. I personally believe that the majority of the world recognizes that major change is on the horizon, but they're just too weak or defeated to mentally understand or prepare for it, so they just live in ignorance of it. I believe this because the programming that the world system has been promoting for at least a decade is that change is coming. The worst times are not behind us, but ahead of us. You should know there are major things coming that we all need to be mindful of, and this should be our reality. Everyone should be making preparations if you have this understanding. Number 10, be mentally prepared for massive job loss, food shortage, stock market collapse, the effects from a dollar collapse, civil war. Not just in the United States, but other countries risk this as well. Be prepared for global war, cyber war, the power going out for an extended period of time, nuclear war, another type of global disease. I'm not trying to scare you, but if you do not have this in the back of your mind as major possibilities for the future, you are not properly mentally preparing yourself. There is a great reset that is coming. So those are the things that will help you continue on with the proper mindset. It is imperative that you hold the right mindset as you walk through these last days, because the enemy is actively working against us to keep us distracted from our Father, have us walk in our flesh and move in fear. And if you're not protecting your mind and your thoughts, you leave yourself susceptible to his schemes and his traps. I have family and friends that I have talked to about this coming future for years, and they do not fully get it, and they're easily moved by the enemy. No matter how much I speak to them, they do not get it completely because they have not guarded their minds. You must guard and protect your mind from the enemy. You cannot place yourself directly in the lies of the enemy for longer periods of time than you place yourself amongst the truth. I've tried to make this channel and my website a resource for all that seek understanding away from the mainstream and that is based upon the word of Yahuah. But I cannot be used as a sole resource. Your Bible is your main resource, and it is your main weapon. And if you feed on it, study it, live through it, and abide in it, you will be ready to deal with the world that is here and the one that is coming upon us. So again, these are the mindsets that you should start holding on to as you engage with this world. It is important that you understand this mental battle and do not let yourself get overtaken. What we have been going over is a part of why the way to life is difficult. Living in a completely different world that everyone else lives in is difficult. If you speak the truth, you're called crazy and written off. Your family and friends deal harshly with you, often acting without love. You become isolated and are often betrayed by those closest to you. You put yourself on the line daily just to try to pull those you love out of the lies, and instead of them appreciating you for this, they actually turn to hate you. Speaking against the false foundations of this world that the world has come to believe in as being safe, untouchable, or unreproachable, it's difficult. Speaking against churches that have brought people more into bondage than they ever helped bring them out of it. In this walk, you can lack strong friendships because most people you know desire to be tied in with the world, and you always come into some kind of conflict because your views of the world are so different than everyone you come into contact with. When you speak the truth, instead of people hearing you, they want to label you and use that label as a reason not to hear you out instead of trying to understand you. I mean, I can keep going on and on. It's very hard to live in the truth, and this is why many people choose not to. It's a lot easier to live in a form of the truth that does not bring you at odds with others and allows people to still like you, and you do not feel the hatred and contention from those that would oppose you if you live in the faith that you actually claim to have. It's like knowing the falsehood of the celebration of Christmas and Easter, but don't want to be bold enough to declare how far people are from Yah that celebrate these pagan days, even though it's clear that they don't know him, because if they actually read the word, particularly from the Old Testament, you would see exactly how little tolerance he has for us conforming to the ways of this world in our worship of him. But those who are scared to be hated are not built up enough to bear the cross. They don't want to stand firm on that wall of our faith because it's easier to blend in than to stand holy and set apart. The narrowness of our faith is difficult for many to walk through because it is much easier for many to be broad in their application of the faith, because this way makes it easier for many people to accept. And so, unfortunately, that's what people do, and that's how many people live. They live through lies and try to enter through the easier broad gate, because that does not require them to deal with the hardships that come through walking fully through our faith. But let's be clear. Yahusha said that this is exactly what people will do, and that is exactly why the gate that leads to life is difficult and there are few who find it. Yah wants and desires those who worship him to do so in spirit and in truth. John chapter 4, verse 24. In spiritual warfare, our spiritual armor, in order to fight against the enemy, we must gird our waist with truth. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 14. We know that the truth will set us free. John chapter 8, verse 32. The truth is important because, like I said from the foundation, those who love the lie are living in a strong delusion and will be condemned for it. What did Yahusha say in Revelation chapter 21, verses 7 and 8? He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the cowardly, unbelieving, abominable murderers, sexually immoral sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Revelation chapter 21, verses 7 and 8. You have to deal with what happens to cowards, the unbelieving, and liars. And what is a coward exactly? A person who lacks the courage to do or endure dangerous or unpleasant things. Cowards are those who are trying to enter in through the broad gate because it's just easier. They are those who choose to live through the lie and accept just enough of it that it does not bring them at odds with this world. So here's the thing. The things we have been discussing are all about the difference between living in the lie and living in the truth. And it is your decision to decide what you're going to live through. This is the activity that everyone who lives in the truth must eventually engage in. Like 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 says, there is a strong delusion and an agenda that is all supported through satanic power, false signs, and lying wonders, all to bring about the coming lawless one. What that means for you is that you must understand that what the mainstream believes and has been told is not built upon a foundation of truth. There are false satanic principles melded into the fabrics of our society, no matter where you are in this world. Whatever is mainstream is all about moving the world towards an agenda for the acceptance of the lawless one. And so it is your job to make sure that you do not let the mainstream generally accepted thought enter into your worldview when understanding the truth. If it is an idea that most people generally accept, I guarantee that there is a lie somewhere mixed in with it. And the thing is that all these lies are all about moving the world towards acceptance of this coming satanic agenda. People use these lies for many reasons. They support wars, they promote financial backings, they promote religious ideals. The world is built off of a lie. And like I have said, it is all about the strong delusion. So before we continue to examine how we have been lied to and conditioned, it is important to understand what it is that we are to do about it and how we are to proceed as we continue to move throughout these times. Please though, this is important. Do not be obsessed with the lies and spend your life consumed with seeing all the wicked conspiracies and the lies that we have been told. That is just searching out the enemy, and it can be exhausting and distracting. What you want to do is make sure you are living with a sound mind and your views come from the standards of the Most High and not the doctrines of this world. Just know this, there are too many lies to uncover them all, and that is not something that this ministry will be doing. But as long as Yah allows me to speak, I will continue to expose lies and falsehoods and doctrines that have directed many away from the faith. We cannot prepare for Yah's kingdom while still living through the abundance of lies that the world has been spreading. We know that the mystery of lawlessness is at work. We know that those who love the lie are caught up in the strong delusion. We must not allow ourselves to be infiltrated by this. So yes, we will be exposing lies and falsehoods, and if they make you uncomfortable, that normally means that you're more affected by them than you care to deal with. Or it could also mean that you're dealing with fear for others that are walking in rebellion, and you choose not to acknowledge it. Regardless of what the reason is, you must come out of the lies and the strong delusion. This isn't some game. We're in a spiritual war, and our enemy is engaging in heavy tactics of war against you. It is up to each of us who love Yah to come out of the falsehoods and live in the truth, because the truth is what sets us free. So as we continue to move in these days and the enemy continues to encroach on us, please make sure you stay faithful to Yah and live in the truth, and do not be afraid of these lies. You have to deal with them. And so as we've been going over the history of mind control, you need to go back and look at all this, go back and examine all these thoughts and understand where they came from. Depending on your age, you've had different points of entry, but it's all the same program. It's just been elevated over time and through the years. Like the feminist agenda in the 60s is very much different than what it is right now, because it's stronger now. I mean, everything's changed. So you need to go back and review these thoughts and understand where everything came from. This is how you use this information. So, Yah willing, we will continue to go over the history of mind control so that the picture can be more plain and easy to see. I want you to see how much manipulation we have been under. It has been going on throughout these last decades, so that the world we were once in is no longer, and the population of the world is ready and prepared for a new one, a new world. Today, they're cheering it on. It is important that you recognize it and get off that path and prepare yourself for Yah's kingdom. So please wake up and no longer follow lies. In the end, as always, the choice is yours. Just make sure you make the right decision and live in strength and in wisdom. Have humility and continue to prepare for the kingdom of Yah. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like it and share this video with others. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. I really would like to give a special thank you and shout out to those who have donated and continue to support this ministry. I truly appreciate your support. I'm very thankful for the love of our Father, and I thank you for your obedience to his call on your heart. I'm humbled by your support, and I'm very thankful for you. You know who you are. I sincerely thank you. Be blessed. Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. I love you all.